Hi, I'm your host, Jürgen Strauss from Innova.Buzz, and I'm really excited to welcome to the Innova.Buzz podcast today. I think my first guest from Bulgaria, from Varna in Bulgaria, Irina Poddubnaia, who's the founder and CEO of TrackMage, which is a software that, well, we'll talk about what it does because it's a bit of a long explanation in a moment. So welcome to the Innova.Buzz podcast, Irina. It's a great privilege to have you as my guest.
Thank you, Jordan. And I'm glad to be the first Bulgarian here. That's good.
Now, your strengths are in strategic innovations and automating processes, which is dear to my heart as well, and getting extra sales from existing customers, which is something I'd love to explore some more, because one of my pet bugbears is businesses that keep chasing new customers and ignore existing customers because of that, and they have this high churn, but also they annoy the existing customers. Often I'm at the receiving end of that. But anyway, before we get on to all of those things, what's the impact you're making in the world, Irina?
Well, I hope it's a positive one. I would say that the impact is getting people out of their boxed mentality, where they only think like the X is true and nothing else matters. So I'm usually, when I'm hired by a business as a consultant, or when I'm coming as part of the software as a service, sometimes I step in and have to do some strategy sessions, is always just to broaden the horizons of the businesses. So what is possible, what they are overlooking right now, and what could be optimized. Because there is always room for optimization in any kind of customer journey. And depending on the circumstances, the smallest changes, they can result in tremendous impact on the business.
Yeah, that's so true. And understanding the customer journey is something you mentioned there. And I know we spoke briefly before about funnels and this concept of funnels, and the idea that really it's not a funnel, it's a customer journey, and it's a cycle. It's particularly if you consider customers that are potentially customers for life, and you can continue to serve them and help them in many different ways. So tell us a little bit about TrackMage, how you came up with that idea, and what's innovative about the service as well.
All right. So actually, I didn't come up with this idea. It kind of occurred in my life because the journey started way back when I left my 9-to-5 and went to China to start the first business. It was kind of an interesting train of thought there, because we were looking for the best suppliers for the best margins. And that's how we thought that if we go to the source, to China itself, we're going to have this competitive edge. Yeah. What we didn't know at that point is that in business, the most important part is not suppliers, not the infrastructure, not even the tools. It's the customers and the sales. So that was our miscalculation. When we came to China, we just became one of those myriads of suppliers that you can find in China. And we were the agent that allowed our e-commerce businesses to buy products from China and then sell to their customers in their home countries. So that was the first business, and that business resulted in us developing a lot of systems for ourselves, because we had to deal with all the customer communication. We had to deal with operations, with inventory management, with shopping cart experience, everything. We built it ourselves, but when we left China, there was no business there. There was no business left when we left China. And then we had all those systems available, and we thought that how we can help other businesses that are at the same stage that we were a couple of years ago or 3 years ago. That was this interesting idea to serve the former us with the tools that we are developing. And that's how we ended up with TrackMage. So TrackMage was focusing mostly on the fulfillment side and the automation of the customer experience after the purchase. So basically, TrackMage is communicating with all those shopping cart solutions like Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, etc., and allows to provide the best post-purchase experience to the customers that the store is already getting. So it's not a standalone solution; it's rather an added-on that you can add to your current business.
Yeah, and my understanding is from a customer experience, it's the thing that will tell you. Here's where you can check the status of your order, where it's at.
Yes.
This is when it's expected to be delivered. Today it's been picked up by the post, and it's now en route from China to Bulgaria and so on. Is that right?
Exactly that. But there is more to it. What we discovered is that customers, when we receive those notifications or those emails, they treat them as transactional information, not as marketing. That's why the open rates are close to 60%. For marketing emails, when you are just communicating with your list of subscribers, usually the open rate is around 20-30%. So this one is like 2 times higher. And then again, we don't have all the information about the open rates because of Google and Outlook and other email clients, they are cutting off the pixel most of the time. So we just have like this partial data, but the partial data is showing that it's 60% or more. So with that said, this is an opportunity for the business to, again, build a stronger brand connection with the customer, and also to upsell those customers with additional products. That's what all the big platforms like Amazon or eBay, they're doing. So every time when you come back to check the status of the order, you are always seeing additional products that you could buy. So the key difference here would be that when you are providing your own tracking page with your own tracking information, you can be 100% sure that the customer is going to see your products, not some competitors, not other businesses that they are going to engage with.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity, isn't it? Particularly with that big difference in open rate. So this is not a unsolicited kind of marketing email. It's like, I'm waiting for this information on my delivery or my product. Where is it? And at the same time, I'm then presented with other information that might be of interest to me.
Yes. It's basically the preventative measure that can be taken to cut the customer support requests, because when the customer is not aware of the package status or where the order is, they are going to be always asking customer support. And those questions, they comprise up to 70% of the entire customer support volume in an e-commerce store. So if you can cut those questions altogether, and then you can provide the best support in those cases where the support is actually required, this is what makes the business stand out. So it doesn't have to be fully manual, where you have to communicate to the customer, but it can be automated. And while you're at it, you can redirect the customers to your social media. You can ask them to engage with our content. You can throw some special offers at them, and that increases the conversion rate. So this is basically the free way how you can remarket to the same customers without having to pay for retargeting ads or some other things that you have to pay for, unless you literally just communicate to the customers directly through their email address.
Yeah, I love it. And also it's another opportunity, I think, for example, if it's a product that needs a little bit of training, or it's an onboarding opportunity, isn't it? So you can send out with the status when you receive your item, here's how, first thing you should do, like let's say it's an electronic device, first thing you should do is make sure you plug it into the charger until it's fully charged. It will take X amount of time to fully charge the device. And then when you start it up, here are the steps you can take. So you can actually build a lot of information so that the experience when the item arrives, the experience is going to be hopefully so much better for the customer. And that I think
that's important, of course. But what we've been seeing is that businesses, they add to those emails, they also add the social proof. They add additional good reviews from the other customers, so that this combats the buyer's remorse. So every time the customer actually makes a purchase, sometimes they have to reconsider it, or after a while they think like, why did I even buy that thing? And then they are going to be questioning themselves. That's when the social proof is invaluable, because every time you show the positive experience of our customers, they are just taking this small step to convince themselves that the decision that they made was the right one. And while you're at it, you could also collect the customer review when they receive the package, because that's the highest point in the customer journey, especially in e-commerce. It's not that exciting to show, let's say they bought a dress, the dress that has been worn for a few weeks. But it is very exciting when the person just unboxes it, tries it on for the first time, sees how fabulous they are. And that's when you should collect a review. Not 2 weeks later, not 2 weeks prior they receive the package, but just at the right time. And what we've seen is that the conversion rate for the review is 5 times higher than the industry average. So what we've seen is that from 10,000 packages, 2,150 left a review in one of our case studies. So literally every fifth customer left a review. That's around 20% of the entire shipping volume, or the entire sales volume. And that's the timing that is at play here, because if they send the request for review 2 weeks prior receiving the package, probably the customer would have forgotten that they need to leave a review, or it wouldn't have been sticking on their mind for the entire time to like, oh, when I receive a package, I should leave a review. Customers don't do that. So, but when you time it correctly, the customer receives the package, they open it, they are very excited about it, and that's when they share the experience. That's why the conversion rate was like 5 times.
Yeah, that's critical, isn't it, that timing? And you've reminded me, I've had a few purchases over the last month or so, and I guess it was Christmas time, so there were delays around Christmas time, but I received a request for a review before I'd received the item. And I remember each time thinking, well, I'd love to give you a review, but I don't have the item yet, so I can't tell you. I don't know whether I'm going to be happy or not.
Yes. That's what has been happening to me as well. When there is some kind of like autoresponder sequence that's timed to go out in 2 weeks, but let's say there is a delay, or there is some kind of customs clearance problem, or something else that's preventing the package from getting to the customer at the right time. That's when all those sequences, they still fire, and you don't get any conversion to reviews. And the customer is not going to remember to leave a review, even if they have a fabulous experience or the product is awesome, but you don't ask at the right time, you don't get a review.
That's right, yeah. All right. What I particularly like, going back to what you said at the beginning of how you launched TrackMage, is the idea of identifying a problem that you had in your own business and how you overcame that problem, and that can then become something that would be of value to other businesses as well, and using those principles. So what prompted you to kind of take that next step in taking, okay, we've got these systems from our own business, now let's build them out so other people can make use of them?
Well, there was this customer that was there was the customer that I was consulting, and they had the problem with tracking numbers, and they had the same issues with fulfillment that we had, where we had to track if our supplier shipped the package at the time when we needed it, and we had to really basically build all the same systems for them. Then we decided, why not just build a standalone system that they can plug in their business. We will not charge them for building it, obviously, because we already have all the code and other things. But this is going to be the first step to start our own software as a service. And it seemed like a very solid idea at that point. That customer, like the first customer, we literally cater to every need, so every request from them, as if it was a system developed specifically for them. That resulted in some interesting developments, and then later we just parted ways with that customer because we thought that it's not going to be a mainstream product if we just cater to this specific use case. So that's when we had to step back and make it a little bit more abstract and customizable, so that our businesses can literally just fine-tune it and make sure that it fits their model. Because the business that we were building the system for originally was a dropshipping business. And dropshipping businesses, they don't have the same capacity or the same capabilities as the business with the private labels, where they have inventory, the warehouses, and multiple premises where they can ship the product from. So we had to just take a step back and redevelop some of the features. So it literally was triggered by the customer and like the guiding light of like, oh, there is another business that actually has the same problems that we had in China. So let's just build it for them. Yeah, and over the years, we have met multiple different businesses and adjusted the system based on the feedback. So for retailers, we discovered that the huge problem was that customers misspell their email addresses, and then they don't receive any communication. They get stressed about it. They reach out to customer support, and their record cannot even be found there because like they misspelled email. And that's how we implemented the first 4 posts of protection, the validation script in the checkout, where the validation script actually checks if that email exists, then allow the customer to submit. But even there, we had to listen to the feedback and we had to see the customer behavior there. So the thing that we noticed is that the first message that the script used to give was the email is invalid. That never stopped any customers. Like they mashed the submit button 7 times. It's just like, what are you saying? Like, this is real address. Like, what are you saying? But then they're like, sorry, did you mean gmail.com? Not Gmail or Gmail? Like, literally, like, did you mean gmail.com? And the question mark. And then customers started noticing, like, oh, there is a typo. I need to fix the typo. And it reduced the number of attempts from 7 to only 2. So like, oh, where is the typo? I fix it and I submit it. So yeah, we'll just constantly listen to the customers. So that's what I would say.
I was just going to emphasize that point. I said, I hope our listener is paying attention to the whole philosophy behind what you've just said in that little story, is constantly listening to the customers and looking at the experience that the customer has and improving the system from that point.
Yeah.
All right. Now, my understanding is your team is completely remote and you actually launched the business completely remotely. Is that correct?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Because prior to launching this business, like in between of those like Chinese adventures and working on our own software as a service, there was this gap where we were freelancing and working completely remotely before COVID, before it became mainstream or cool. So remote work was ingrained in our nature of conducting business online. So that's how we started. That's how we continued. And up to this day, this has been the best for us, I guess.
And what are some of the particular challenges of running a company completely remotely, particularly in the launch phase and then growing it, and how have you addressed those?
Yes. All right. So the best point about remote businesses or remote work in general is that you can hire the best talent like from all over the world. You're not limited to a specific locale, or you're not limited to a specific town. So if there is a specific technology that you need to use, you can find a lot of specialists that are professional in that technology, and you don't have to be stuck with just the local pool of candidates. But the worst part about remote businesses is that as easily as it is to hire the guys, it's as easy for them to get to go elsewhere. So they can change the job. They can so the churn for the workforce is the real deal. And you have to make every effort to make sure that there is somebody who is going to communicate with your developers or other specialists that you hire remotely constantly, so that they don't feel isolated, that they don't feel as if they're not a part of a team. So I guess for me, it wasn't that big of a challenge to organize those remote environments with a ticket tracker, with a chat, with some coordinator who is going to make sure that everyone comes to work and every once in a while does something. So it wasn't a challenge just because that's exactly what I've been doing. That's what my consulting was based on. So I always helped businesses to structure those remote environments and facilitate the team interaction. But for other businesses, I believe that could be a challenge. Because when you hire an employee and you give them a desk and you always see them in the office, it's much easier to maintain the contact. Even if you don't say a word to them for the entire day, but you still see them in the office. That's what just makes that a reassuring feedback loop between the boss and the employee. But then you are in a remote environment, all you can rely on is just this faith that the employee is going to be there and they're going to do what they were supposed to do. So the upside is that you're limited by only the imagination and what the market has to offer. But then the downside is that you need to make sure that those people that you hire, they are there and they are diligently doing what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, and it's a delicate balance, isn't it? I know we have use Slack to kind of have that communication on an ongoing basis. And I always built in the idea that when you first log in the morning, you actually say hello to everybody. And when you leave in the afternoon, you sort of say, okay, I'm done, I'm leaving, I'm signing off. That's the first thing, because if you're in a physical office, you would say hello, greet people in the morning that you cross paths with, and likewise in the evening when you leave the workplace. So what were some of the things that you put in place to build a strong culture, company culture in that remote team, so that there's more than just that kind of level of communication, but there's actually that feeling that you mentioned of belonging to the team?
Well, there are multiple things that we implemented. We follow Scrum methodology just because for software development, I believe it's one of the most optimal frameworks that are available on the market. So we have multiple ceremonies. So we plan together. We make sure that we understand all the items that we are working on. So if we plan together, we build together. So it's not something that is only left to the management. So I'm not deciding what we're building. We're deciding together how we're building the things and what we are doing. And then another thing that facilitates that culture is always having those daily meetings with the camera on. Because then you see another person who is a real life person on the other end of a screen. Then you start to understand that it's not just some kind of remote environment where people are the avatars or the text messages in your Slack. It's much more involved. So every once in a while, we just I would say not even every once in a while, we have daily meetings. So every day we're meeting with the team for at least 15 minutes to discuss everything that needs to be done and regroup for the tactical plan. So that facilitates more engagement. And I always encourage people whenever they have a question to not wait until the next daily meeting, to always reach out through the chat and resolve it then and there. And we have the policy of open doors, let's say. If you need a meeting with somebody, you just write them a message and can we jump on a call? Yes, we can. And that's how even in a remote environment, you basically have a typical human interaction that you don't need to really enforce. You have the problem that you pose to your team, and then the team tries to solve the problem. And for that, they need to communicate. And the best means of communication is the face-to-face communication with the camera on. So that's how it's growing. And yeah, it starts from the management, or it starts from the leaders. So if the leaders are like secluded and they only reply through messages on the chat, that's what's going to happen to the entire team, because they see how the boss is interacting, and that's the thing that they are modeling.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, lots of really good advice there. So thanks for that, Irina. This is fabulous, but I think I'm looking at the clock. We could go on talking ages about all kinds of things business, but I think it's a good point now to move on to the buzz, which is our innovation round, our 5 lightning questions that I ask of every guest. And the idea is you'll give us some answers that'll inspire the listener to go and do something awesome today as a result.
Yeah.
So you all set?
Yay. Let's do it.
Excellent. So what's the number one thing anyone needs to do to be more innovative?
Look around and study your customers. See what the social media is buzzing about. I found out about ChatGPT during the first week once the buzz started going. And then it just became enormous. Everyone knows about ChatGPT now. So that's how you pick up on the trends. You pick up on some changes. Then that's how you innovate. You see like this great idea and you grab it first and see how you can apply it to your business. Or if you cannot, then you just sit that one out and see how it plays out. I'm glad I sat through the entire Web3 NFT craze, because I don't understand what I would have done if I had one of those NFT projects.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of really great examples there. The ChatGPT was one that I jumped on in the very early days. And what you mentioned there, it's a case of, there's a lot of talk these days about students using ChatGPT to cheat on exams and get it to write their essays for them. And a lot of these areas where it has limitations because it's only the language model is based on information up to 2021, I think. And sometimes it gets
That's what it
wrong.
says. What it says when it doesn't want to answer the question. You restart the chat and then you put it again. It really applies without any problems. Yeah.
But I looked at it and I thought, you could ask it a very generic question and it's like rubbish in and you get rubbish out, or you could be more specific. And I've been doing lots of experiments and I think, hey, this has got amazing possibilities. It's not for replacing somebody who writes a great article or for the student not doing their assignment, but there's other possibilities where it's wonderful. And I think probably NFTs is similar, although like you, I'm sitting on the sidelines of that one a bit because I don't understand it either.
Yes, one piece of advice that I received, I don't remember from one of the greats said that. So if you don't understand the business, don't invest. Maybe it was Warren Buffett. If you don't understand what it is about, just don't. And that's probably what saved me from NFTs because it was so tempting to just pump out some pictures and then just get millions out of it. But I don't understand it well enough. So that's why I didn't go.
Excellent. All right. Well, what's the best thing you've done to develop new ideas?
Well, I guess the new ideas that worked for us and just increased the value of the business, that's the ideas that we collaborated with the customers on. So the customers, they just explain okay, here is our use case. Here is what is bothering our customers, or here is what is bothering us. How can you solve it? And customers, they don't really formulate it like that. They just say okay, this is not working. This is why, yada, yada, yada. And I'm always just thinking okay, you have this box mentality, this is your problem and you don't see the way out. But then there is always out of the box solutions, all those other paths that you are not taking. Let's do it like this, or like this, like this. So every time you're encountering a problem, there is always 177 ways how you can get out of it. And Yeah, that's how we've been innovating. We just say like, we see the problem, or we see the real problem that the customer is dealing with, and then we solve it for them without having to ask them to guide us like, oh, how would you solve it for yourself? If they were capable of it, they would have solved it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So key is listening to the customer, but then being able to recognize what they don't see, which is outside the box or outside the scope of what they're looking at.
Well, I guess just getting to the root causes of the problem, like understanding like maybe they're not dealing with that problem for the right reasons. So they shouldn't be doing it in the first place. So let's say they're dealing with Excel and like in Excel, you are not able to find the, I don't know, a specific way how to sort the data. But maybe you shouldn't be solving it with an Excel spreadsheet in the first place. Maybe it's something else.
Yeah, love it. Great example. All right, do you have a favorite resource you use most often?
Favorite resource for what? For ideas?
Ideas, anything in your business, yeah.
Well, I guess I'm sticking around social media, so my favorite resource would be LinkedIn or Twitter. I know that a lot of people think that Twitter is a dumpster fire, but it just depends on whom you follow. Like if you follow good people with interesting content and like it's always like when I open my Twitter, it's always like educational content, like new ideas, something like that. It's not about just some celebrity gossip or something like that.
Yeah. I think that's the trick to all social media, isn't it? Is getting the right circle of contacts. The big question in my mind always, and this is Facebook is one where I have a real bugbear with, is because of the way their algorithm works and what they serve you, what they actually present in your feed. Even though I think I'm following good people, but I still get to see a lot of rubbish, a lot of noise.
Well, I guess on Facebook it's different, and I've been on Facebook maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, but then I just deleted the account because I no longer serve the purpose, and just because they restricted for some bizarre reason, they restricted my ads account, and I had to just kind of like cut that. So with that said, Facebook is very much broken system. I don't know what is going to happen to this company long term, but it looks like they are innovating for the sake of innovating. Because who asked for another redesign of all the interfaces, the admin interfaces for ads accounts? Who asked for it? But then they just rolled it out, and half of the functionality is not there. Or some of those interesting cases where you change the type of the account, then you change this, change that, and then you are in a complete standstill because they have a 500 error that's preventing you from finishing the process. So then you are innovating, like make sure like it's backwards compatible. Like don't do what Facebook does. They don't even have any customer support at all. Like if you are having a problem, you have nobody else to turn to.
Yeah.
And the quality of content definitely isn't there because the content that gets popular, let's say, it's the content that like maybe is not popular for the right reason. It's just some kind of hype or some kind of like not useful information. Like be positive.
Yeah. All right. Well, focus on LinkedIn and Twitter and surround yourself or follow the people that are relevant and add value and educate. That's the message. All right. Now, what's the best way to keep a client on track?
The best way to keep the client on track and basically the project on track, I think, is proactive communication. So you need to know like what the timelines are, what do you need to do, what kind of problems you're solving for the client. If you are in software as a service like us, you need to understand that the customer is not going to stick around for 2 months to solve that one bug. You need to solve it right away or not solve it at all. Like it's just an executive decision that you have to make. And with that said, always communicate proactively, because once the customer reaches out to you once, they already made you a great gift. Because most of the customers, they're just going to silently go away and not indicate the issue at all.
Yeah.
So always communicate, always make sure that they are at least informed that you are working on that problem.
Yeah, that's pure gold. That what you just said there is changing your mindset of the customers complained about this particular thing in my business. That is a gift they've given me, because now I have the opportunity now I'm aware of it. Now I have the opportunity to fix it, reach out to that customer, make it right for them, and then I have a fan for life. Whereas
it's not just that one customer. It's not just that one customer, because again, for one customer who reaches out, there are hundreds that encountered it.
Yeah, and I was going to say how many before that have just left because they thought not to take the time to inform the business about the issue they were having, and they decided, I'll go somewhere else because maybe I won't have the issue there.
Yes. Unfortunately, that's the truth of doing business in general. It's not online or offline. It's always there. So if there is some kind of negative experience that the customer is having and you're not addressing it, and the worst case scenario, you are not even aware that that's there, that's the killer. You need to always address the customer complaints and make sure that the actual underlying process around it is fixed, not just that specific case for that specific customer. Because you can always just solve it with the customer to just refund them whatever they had bought. You can apologize to them, but that doesn't solve the issue. Dig deeper. Always just solve the issue, not just address the complaint.
Excellent. Great advice. All right. Finally, in the buzz round, what's the number one thing anyone can do to differentiate themselves?
Well, to stand out, just be yourself. Everyone else is taken. I would just go to that quote. Being yourself is very hard because we're always on this constant lookout to the next best thing, the best strategy, the best quick fix, and that's what results in copycat accounts, copycat marketing, copycat businesses. But what you need to do is just to dig deeper and understand what drives you, what is your passion, and what kind of customers you actually would love to work with. Even in your current business, you could literally just do this Pareto analysis of what 20% of customers are resulting in 80% of the outcome from a business. And then just make some executive decisions to maybe fire the 20% that are just bothering you and they're not resulting in anything good for the business. It's always very insightful when you look at your business from the standpoint of what you actually enjoy versus what you are stuck doing just because you are there. And you think that you have to. You don't have to do anything if it's your business.
You have a choice
it's
always.
Always a decision, yes.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, there's a couple of really great points there. Be yourself, but really know who your dream customers are. I talk a lot about the dream customer, which is how you've put it with the 80-20 kind of Pareto rule analysis, and then determining the match and what's going to be fun for you. All right. Well, thanks, Irina. This has been really fabulous. Now, where can people find out more about the work you do, about TrackMage, about you, and maybe even get in touch and say thanks for what you've shared?
I believe the best place would be to find us on social media, on LinkedIn. So when you type TrackMage, you will see the company and then you will find me. Because my surname is unpronounceable. I don't know. Maybe in the show notes, you can just click the link.
We will have a link, yes.
Yeah, great. And when it comes to the business itself, TrackMage.com is the best place. Come to our website. We have some cool animations on the landing page, and then through all this entertainment, you can schedule a demo and see how the solution works for your business, or if it doesn't. And you can always start the free trial yourself and just explore and see how the system works. So for any e-commerce entrepreneur or any e-commerce business in general, or if you're a consultant for one of those businesses, check it out, because customer journey matters, and the communication gaps they either get filled by you or they get filled by the customer reaching out to your customer support. So you will never have a communication gap for too long. Or sometimes they get filled with like refund requests. So that's the last thing you want to happen in your business.
That's right.
Yeah, and we also have a free resource called How to Get 5 to 10% extra sales from existing customers without paying for ads or hiring more staff. This one is available at trackmage.com/flywheel-extra-sales. You can get there and download it. It has very good points on how to transform your funnel, the finite outcome, into a flywheel. The infinite outcome where the customer is just sticking with the business for life.
Yeah, I love it. I love the flywheel. It's part of our business as well, the whole flywheel concept. So thanks, Irina. Now, finally, before we wrap up, what action would you like our listener to take from our conversation today?
Yeah, well, the best action that the business could do is just to look at their existing customer journey and see where they are currently losing customers or they have any problems. Because there are a lot of friction and acceleration points in the customer journey. So once you start looking at it, you can apply even the data-driven decisions to understand how you can make it better. And every time you improve your customer journey at least by 5%, you have tremendous impact on everything down the line. Like the closer it is to the beginning, the more impact usually that has. So yeah, like there are a lot of things that you could do to improve your customer journey and make sure that they have the best like pre-purchase experience and post-purchase experience, so that they are like surrounded and they have no way out of your business. They just continue sticking around and buying.
Love it. Yeah. So have a look at the customer experience and a good exercise is actually to be a customer of your own business. Act like a customer of your own business and see what happens. Like sign up for whatever you're offering, buy whatever it is if you're in an e-commerce thing and just experience what happens. Because I'm surprised some of the things that I go through, I think, nobody in that company has ever actually gone through this process, because if they had, it wouldn't be like this.
Yes.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks so much. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to share like one of those nightmare experiences. So yes, I'm just trying to buy, let's say, a thing, and then I have to fill in the entire form. Like, I know that most of the businesses, they're getting rid of all those forms, like your business name, your phone number, your this, your that. Like, that conversion is like, with every field that you add to that form, your conversion rate is dropping, like by the minute, by the second even. Just like eliminate some of those fields. Like, all you need really is just the customer's email and their name to start the conversation. You can ask about everything else later. You don't have to ask about everything up front. Yeah, that's another great bit of advice. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing your time and your insights so generously with us today on the Innova.Buzz podcast, Irina. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I'm sure there's lots of takeaways that our listener will take away and hopefully implement some things in their business. So all the best for the future, and please do stay in touch. Thank you. I enjoyed the conversation thoroughly because this stuff is very important. But businesses, they just focus on like, oh, let's drive more traffic. Let's not think about what we do with that traffic. Like, we just need more traffic. Yep. All right. Well, thanks.